This is the book of 2nd Exodus, chapter 9 and verse 1. He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past which I have told thee before, then shalt thou well understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that it is the very same time wherein the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world, hath a beginning and the end is manifest. Even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua, God, Lord, La, Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushua, Ba'asham, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Rule well, been a great example to the young brothers in the truth. Peace and blessing to the hopeful lick. Lord, when this edifying, that's another edition of Measure Out of Time Diligently. And this one gonna be a kind of long one. So I'm gonna talk fast and let it play through. Now let's get into it.
It has to show now that is ready to oppose this rise of new dictatorships that are threatening the very existence of the world order that we used to live in.
Yeah, well, they want a new world order. China, Xi Jinping, and Vladimir Putin in Russia.
And before it gets started, they trying to make like China and Russia the presidents over these countries want a new world order on their own. Of course, yeah, they want to be in power, you know, but ultimately it's the elite bankers, the Rothschilds, the Rockefeller, the DuPonts, these elite families that don't nobody know about. You know, these are the people that want a new world order. You know, and America is not gonna be a part of that new world order. That's why they breaking this place down. The third world war, how it's looking, they breaking America down to where it's gonna get obliterated, man. You know,
And this has taken us by storm. I mean, this is like a watershed moment. It's happening on the scale of an entire country of 40 million people. This is only something that we read about in books, saw in movies, and all of a sudden we are living those movies and those books.
So you and I might ask the question, how are things going to play out in the Ukraine?
We all know that also the next step that we see is a no-fly zone over Ukraine. And I know that everybody is saying, no, 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 the Third World War will start. Will be very blunt with you. It has already started. Because
man, World War III already started, man. And this an old video, a few months, probably a month or two old. But it's still relevant, man. It's still in the times that we living in. It happened. This going on this year, you know. And it's going down. But this Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. You know, and the second woe was World War II. You know, and this third war is coming quickly, World War III, and World War II was uh, uh the Cold War came after World War II. I want to say it was 1940s, the 1940s and 50s or somewhere up in that area. Matter of fact, let's look it up real quick. Let's look up World War II. When was it? Okay, World War II started September 1st, 1939 to September the 2nd, 1945, you know, and that's with Hitler and all these different places, Soviet Union, and when other people were fighting against Hitler, Those false Jews, man. But World War III ended in 1995, and we're in 2020, and it comes quickly, man. You know, because they was speaking of World War III, during the time of the Cold War. Let's look that up. The Cold War was around. It was a little afterwards. Well, it say World War II plus Cold War, say March 12th, 1947 to December 26th, 1991. You know, so the Cold War, the whole time the Cold War was going on, it was, uh, basically close to World War III. You know, but World War III never started. But we in World War III right now because these top countries are fighting against themselves. And they actually colliding. They actually doing stuff to mess up one another economy, cyber attacks, and all these things. And it's gonna lead to the third war. But let's keep going.
Attack on a nuclear plant again affects everybody.
Meanwhile, Russia has become increasingly isolated and its economy is in free fall. Death and destruction on the ground in Ukraine, a massive.
And they lying. Russia economy is not on a free fall. Russia economy is doing better than it have been. You know, they saying it's on a free fall, but Russia's doing damn good, man. Being detached from the um this system, this Western system, and doing their own thing because they got their own resources. They have all their own stuff. So these other countries such as Europe, they the ones who need Russia. Europe, France, and the European nations over there, Western Europe, so to speak. They need Russia. Russia don't need them. Russia and them been telling they people to get prepared for war. Stock up food, go do these things. On the other hand, for these Western countries such as America, Canada, and Western Europe, they haven't been telling their people to do a damn thing, man. China was doing the same thing Russia was doing, so they gonna be more prepared than these other people. You know.
Exodus of refugees, as we've just been hearing.
Vladimir Putin is trying to control the talking points, banning media outlets from using.
It's not America trying to control the talking points. Why you think on YouTube they strike your video down? They doing all these different things. These people are liars, man. You know. They doing the same thing over here in America. They just ain't that draconian measure just has not been applied yet. They doing the same thing here. You know, say something you ain't got no business on Facebook, Instagram. One of these American sites and YouTube, and see where your ass be. See, don't you be deplatformed, so to speak.
The term war when talking about the ongoing attacks. At least two independent Russian news outlets.
Salakia, you can't go against the narrative that America pushing, or you will be, your video gonna be screwed. You gotta talk about you gotta agree with them and talk about what they talking about for the most part. You know, your video gonna get screwed. They gonna talking about cyber policing. That's the same thing Russia doing, man. You know, and they all devils, man. At the end of the day, you got devils fighting against devils, man.
That refuse to share his talking points have been forced off the air this morning, and in an effort to intimidate journalists, the Russian parliament has just passed a new rule that basically puts a 15-year prison sentence on anyone who reports, quote, fake news, at least the way they view it. Guys.
Those pictures.
Unbelievable, right?
It looks very residential, Ron.
It really
I don't
does.
know. I know they were talking about going after military targets. Those didn't look military to me.
Not at all.
With every passing day, this war is becoming bigger. With every passing day, this war is pulling in more countries. Think about it. Our world is already fighting multiple wars. Experts believe China's conflict with Taiwan will turn into a military conflict sometime in the next decade. China is also fighting multiple countries in the South China Sea, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei. India and China are caught in a standoff. There is a conflict between Iran and Israel, Iran and the United States. The United States and North Korea are arch enemies. So are the United States and Cuba. There is also a war in Syria, a war in Yemen. Israel and Palestine are fresh out of a bloody battle. The United Arab Emirates was recently hit by missiles. It is hard to rule out that countries or non-state actors will seize on a distracted world and pursue their geopolitical.
This the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming in the end of the world? And Yahweh answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes, famines, and pestilence in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So hey, you see it. She just mentioned all the wars that's being fought and are being stirred up, man. You know, so it's finna go down out here, man. It's already going down, but it's gonna really go down, like beyond what it is. You know, it's gonna eventually lead to mass casualties and then ultimately nuclear destruction. And a crash of this system and the Lord returning. That's what it's all leading to.
It is hard to rule out
Oh,
that an escalation.
let me not forget that MOTB gonna come first, man. You know, so before World War III get brewing and nukes get to flying, they gonna implement their MOTB, and I believe they gonna implement that MOTB out of. They gonna crash this economy first, man. All hell gonna break loose in the economy because they deal with a thing called Order FKO. All hell gonna break loose. Then they gonna come with their MOTB. And once that MOTB get rolled out, then you might as well get ready because the Lord gonna turn these devils up against one another. And World War III is gonna start. Really gonna start.
On the sidelines of Ukraine will drag in more countries.
We are entering day 6 of war as several Ukrainian cities are under attack this morning.
But I have traveled in conflict zones and done some reporting. And I remember being in Tripoli and Benghazi during the NATO attacks and the freedom fighters fighting, as well as against the Gaddafi forces. And it was sketchy, but this was ominous. It was ominous because it was so heartbreaking in the ripple effects it's going to have around the world where this incredible symbol of democracy, of belief in free dreaming, is being assaulted. And they're fighting for their lives, and they're going to continue to fight for their lives. And I start to feel that we as Americans are plummeting off a cliff, atop which is our flag that represents all of our dreams and the best of our history, and that we're plummeting where it's going to go out of sight. I don't know the answers. I don't know if no-fly zones will create a nuclear war.
Western leaders have repeatedly said that.
And no fly zones won't create a nuclear war, but what will, that MOTB being implemented and the whole earth being tried that hour. And after that, you might as well get ready for those missiles to go up, man.
Russia's invasion challenges the world order. Is that how you see it as well?
Yes, I think the world order is being changed by the invasion of Ukraine. The world is a much more dangerous place today than a week ago.
And the fear, I suppose, is that other authoritarian regimes are watching this play out and could use it to their advantage, learn how to make a military move of their own.
Mr. Grossi, before I let you go, we have to ask about Iran.
International pressure, crippling sanctions, and even the threat of war. So far, nothing has discouraged Iran from its nuclear ambitions. Some analysts say its determination is part of Tehran's strategy.
Vladimir Putin, and don't forget, Iran has been brought into the fold as well. They were doing military exercises, the three of them, and the U.S. is trying to get the U.S., this administration trying to get the U.S. back into an Iran nuclear deal.
Iran has long desired nuclear technology. Following the Islamic Revolution in 1979, most countries cut off all nuclear cooperation with Tehran. And without reliable foreign fuel supplies, Iran started developing its own nuclear program. But as a consequence, it has been under economic sanctions since the 1990s. The West has been suspicious of the country's venture into nuclear energy, especially because of the high cost it has paid. Some experts also say it makes little sense, considering Iran is among the world's richest in natural resources. But Iran says its goals are peaceful, and it needs nuclear power to diversify its energy sector, as its oil fields will eventually be depleted. By giving up much control of its nuclear activities with the 2015 deal, Iran has also hoped to convince the West that it only means peace. Since the US left the agreement in 2018, Iran has deployed centrifuges that can produce nuclear fuel more quickly and brought its uranium enrichment program closer to weapons-grade level. Some analysts say just by having the technology that could be used to make a bomb, Iran would increase its sense of security and gain political influence in the Middle East.
Far from building bridges, China has been increasingly threatening its neighbor with its military. The numbers of Chinese Air Force incursions into Taiwan's air defense zone have gone up, as has the rhetoric from Beijing. China views Taiwan as a renegade province that needs to be reunited with the mainland.
We've seen China already tighten its grip on Hong Kong, warn Taiwan, encroach on Nepal's borders, and of course there are these tensions never ending in the South China Sea. If China were to make a military move, where do you think it would be?
Well, it will be Taiwan. Taiwan is absolutely central to the maritime strategy of China. This goes even beyond or before Xi Jinping. And if China can take Taiwan, it will have done so against American wishes, meaning that either the Americans are deterred or the Americans are defeated. Either way, it will fundamentally change the balance of power in the entire.
And eventually, it haven't happened yet. Oh shit, slacking. China gonna make they move on Taiwan, man. And maybe Israel gonna bomb Iran or do some crazy shit and pull. Cause if China invade Taiwan, I don't think America gonna just rush over there. They may send a few troops, but they gonna be having to worry about too much, and like Rome field, they gonna be stretched too thin. They already activated 300,000 troops in the Middle East. Now, this a whole video, but this what's going on currently. You know, what them activating the 3,000 troops in the Middle East. You know, now that's NATO, not just America, but America is the backbone of NATO when it comes to the military, man. You know, so half of them troops gonna be American troops. Positioned in these different bases around the world.
Indo-Pacific region.
Still, the greatest fear is that Taiwan is next on the list. And if that happens, we are in serious, serious trouble economically, militarily, and politically.
And y'all ass is in trouble, man. The Lord finna fuck this earth up, man. You know, hey, Yahweh is a man of war. And Yahweh said like his father, man. The Lord is pissed off, man. You know, and war is the only way out. You know, this place gonna go out in flames, man, with a whole bunch of fireworks, which are those missiles, man.
Because China will then control the flow of trade around the entire globe. Supply chain problems, you'll yearn for the day when we were dealing with a lack of toilet paper.
Our fellow journalist was just saying that it seems in Ukraine like Second World War.
And you finna see that without Russia and China going to war together. I mean, without China taking Taiwan. Why? Because the U.S. government, what these people, see, we got the truth, man. You know, the U.S. government they are part of the problem, man. They bringing this place down too, man, because they part of the New World Order. They are part of this agenda. They are part of this satanic, um, they satanic minions for the international bankers, man. You know, they know that you people are through. They just trying to secure their spot, man. You know,
And it does, because Putin is trying to rebuild the Russian Empire or Soviet Union and drag all of us to the past. And we want to go to the future.
What about the Second World War? Flashback 1939. Germany invades Poland on the 1st of September. 2 days later, Britain and France declare war on Germany. Once again, it has a domino effect. Before you know it, the whole world is fighting. At least 50 million people are dead. Again, it all began with one country invading another.
The battle in Ukraine, it's a battle for
and Ukraine is part of the Soviet Union, man. You know, it made sense for them to do what they did. Why? Because shit, y'all trying to make them a part of NATO, knowing during the Cold War we've been bumping heads since the Cold War. You know, we had the arms race. You know, World War Two. We helped each other out. World War, the world was fighting against Germany. World War Two, and now World War Three is Russia and America, man. You know, and America bombed Vietnam. America went to war in Vietnam. But it only makes sense for Russia to, do what they did before America made Ukraine a part of the NATO, man, and place up military bases and thermonuclear missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, or short range um missiles with nuclear warheads on them, and place them uh in Ukraine, you know, and have Russia surrounded. It's all war tactics, man.
for the future of our world. It's a front line of freedom now.
Well, some say Russia's invasion of Ukraine has started a new era. What good are political boundaries in the face of a nuclear arsenal and defiance from an authoritarian leader? Those are questions being asked around the world.
In Israel, it is often referred to as a war in between wars on a variety of levels. For years, Israel's Air Force has also allegedly carried out strikes in neighboring Syria to prevent the entrenchment of Iranian forces or proxy militias. The overall aim to slow down Iran's nuclear program and its influence in the region.
Nobody wants a war in the Middle East, no question about that. At the same time, one has to remember that Israel.
She just said nobody wants a war in the Middle East. The Lord do, and even said whoa. Let's get it, man. The Lord want war in the Middle East, man. Let's get it real quick, Salaki. Like John Julia. This the book of Joel. I'm trying to get close to the point. Salakia. This Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. It reads, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, these heathen nations. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, beat your plowshares into sword and your pruning hooks into spears." Yeah, all you agricultural country and the enough growing shit. Hey, turn them on farming utensils into military weapons. Put your money behind your military now. Let the weak say, "I am strong." Assemble yourselves together. And the weak saying, "I'm stronger." These weaker agricultural nations such as China, you know, all these countries that grow, they grow stuff and they make their money off just growing things. They ain't focused on military, but now they are. You know, uh, let the weak say, "I am strong." Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together around about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Going to the angels. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat. For there will I sit and judge all the heathen round about. And let's try to figure out what the valley is. See what it say. And we know it say Jehoshaphat. It say Jehoshaphat, but in the Hebrew, Yehoshaphat. Yahweh judgment. That ain't telling me nothing. See if Blue Letter got something for me. Salaki. Let's see what Joel say. Blue Letter say. It ain't telling me nothing. But we know it's in the Middle East. If I ain't mistaken, I want to say around the area of Jordan. But I don't know. I have to look into that. I ain't gonna sit there in front. But let's keep going. It say back in Joel chapter 3 and verse 12, it say, "Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, for there will I sit and judge all nations round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow." and their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decisions. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decisions. Going into what? World War III. World War III will be fought in the Middle East. Contrary to what they saying. It reads, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heathens and Salaki in the heavens and the earth shall be shaken, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the Lord is your hope, and he gonna come and deliver the elect of the nation. 2/3 of our people gonna get caught up in this destruction and die, man. You know, Lord willing, we are a part of that elect number and able to escape these things. They say, so shall ye know that I am the Lord. Your your power dwelleth in Zion, my holy mount. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no stranger pass through her anymore. Yeah, and these are the times we coming into, man. You know, Lord willing, we're a part of that number. You know, because the Lord is gonna destroy that land and He gonna put us back in it, and it ain't gonna be no more war. You know, it ain't gonna be no World War 4 and 5. No, this the last war. The war to end all wars, as these elites say. You know why? Because it's gonna be fought when they really get going after they implement their MOTB with thermonuclear missiles, man.
The only country that is threatened by Iran to be annihilated off the map.
That's why talks between world powers and Iran in Vienna to revive the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan for Action, also known as JCPOA, are being so closely watched here. The country has reportedly set aside a significant budget to prepare the Israeli military for a potential strike on Iran.
The main show is Vienna. Israel is trying to create an alternative to what's going on the table in Vienna. So we are trying to produce a viable military option, which Israel is still working on.
In the meantime, the war in between wars continues. Experts say a nuclear Iran would change the whole region and could lead to a nuclear arms race in the Middle East.
A return to energy dependence. Do you realize that 7% of our oil now comes from Russia? 7% of the oil that we process in the United States comes from Russia. But maybe more telling is that the United States' influence as a trusted partner amongst other nations has been pretty much decimated through the Arab Spring, which instead of bringing democracy and liberty in the Middle East, propped up some of the worst despots and has led to the deaths of millions of people through this internecine warfare that goes on amongst them.
We know Russia's economic might in part rests on fossil fuels. It's the world's biggest exporter of natural gas and the second biggest exporter of crude oil. That's worth over $160 billion a year. And this is one of Russia's biggest income streams. As the Harvard economist Jason Furman puts it, Russia is incredibly unimportant in the global economy except for oil and gas. It's basically a big gas station.
But you see, the whole idea, and we understand, what's the end game here? Why would somebody go into a country like...
And they lying because Russia is one of the top producers of wheat. You know, the top 10 producers of wheat, and at the top of that, you know, Russia has a whole bunch of natural resources such as natural gas, actual gas for the cars, oil. You know, Russia is among top producers in these things, and what that gas, natural gas, oil. That's part of that's the whole infrastructure, man. You know, that's the infrastructure of the world. That's how the power operate. You know, for the most part. And these damn devils, man. Russia's insignificant. Okay, we finna see, man. You know why Russia had the power to say, well, shit. If y'all gonna cut us off from I think it's the banking system, the SWIFT banking system, whatever it's called, then shit, y'all just y'all gotta figure out a way to get y'all some rubles, and that's the Russian currency, and y'all gonna buy y'all natural resources in our money. Ain't no more petrodollar. Y'all cut us off. We ain't gonna use y'all banks and all this. We gonna use y'all gotta. Y'all need us. We don't need y'all because China. We can get stuff from China. And all these countries that's neutral right now, man. India. You know, Korea. What's one? North Korea. These countries are neutral as for and are enemies to America. You know. And they ain't got no beef with Russia, man. Ukraine, not Ukraine, or Iran, you know, um, uh, uh, damn, in South America, Cuba, all these places that grow, this rainforest areas and tropical, full of resources and stuff. They can go, they ain't gotta deal with America, man. They ain't gotta deal with the Western civilization.
Ukraine with nothing really to gain. Well, first of all, it's the breadbasket of Europe. It's the largest wheat producer in the world. It also produces a ton of agricultural products. But more importantly,
and all the fertilizer for the most part come from Russia. Ukraine and Russia supply Western Europe with they food. Ukraine considered the breadbasket of the world, and they ain't playing shit this year. They at war. And there's also been videos surfacing of Ukrainian soldiers burning down the wheat, man. Not Russian soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers. Why? Because it's all a planned demolition.
Of the Russian fuel lines, energy lines, gas and natural gas, go through Ukraine and into Europe. So whoever controls those fuel lines controls Europe. Because Europe as a whole gets 30% of its energy from Russia, through Ukraine, through Nord Stream 1, and amazingly, our current placeholder in the White House invited Russia to continue building Nord Stream 2, which would have increased dependency. The Germans, who do not like us, have never been our friends, and I think many of them still think they should have won World War II, basically have been complicit, along with Italy and other countries in Europe, in trying to displace the United States. And we'll touch on that very briefly, but it's a big issue. So that if Putin is successful, Europe could be forced into submission, especially because we no longer produce any excess energy to be able to replace what Russia provides for them now. Most of us begin to realize that not only causes disruption, it really would require the reordering of our entire life. It's a powerful thing when you're talking about factories that run this stuff. And of course, because Europe has been much more aggressive in pursuing climate change, they've shut down all of their nuclear plants. And the same plan is going on here, where the Energy Department under the current administration has just refused to relicense 2 nuclear energy plants in Florida that have been operating since 1973. With no explanation, other than the fact that we have to move away from the cleanest form of energy in the world. It's interesting. As John McCain put it so, as he often did in a very comical way, he said, Russia is nothing else but a gas station with nuclear weapons. In the very real sense, even to this day, 50% of their income is oil. 50%. Their economy runs on it. And, it was really interesting.
And what's the income of America? Consumerism, you know. You talking shit about Russia, at least they producing things, man. What is America doing besides consuming? You know? That's it. They ain't doing shit here. We just got down show enough getting it in and making money from these other countries. No. All America do is print money and accumulate debt. You know, that's the pride of these dumbass Americans. You laughing and giggling. Russia's just a big gas station. Well, they making money. What is America? You know? Just a shopping mall? America, one big shopping mall. You know? And all the goods are coming from where? The goods not coming from America. The goods coming from these other countries. China, India, you know, Japan, Russia, not America, Italy, different countries.
People saying, why didn't he do this during the Trump era? Well, think about it. We were energy sufficient. We didn't have to import oil. And we started supplying natural gas to the European nations so they wouldn't be dependent upon Russian oil. But, because the most important crisis facing the world today is climate change, our government, in its immeasurable wisdom, decided that what we need to do is become energy dependent upon others. So Europe shut down most of their nuclear plants, got rid of all their coal-burning energy plants, as China is building them daily. China puts up one coal plant a day to produce enough energy to keep their engine going forward. And they're buying one of the resources. Their coal comes from Russia. They have entered into an alliance and agreement now that they're buying Russian oil in huge numbers in order to continue to support and provide funds for the Russian economy. But you see, we looked at Russia as being a defeated enemy with no hope of coming back, that we viewed them as being like Germany after World War II. And we looked at China as this giant market to be exploited. And in that regard, corporate greed and political corruption induced our government and business elites to start feeding the dragon until it has become so big and so dominant that now we live in fear of it. Over that time, China has become the sole provider of 90% of our pharmaceuticals. Realize that 90% of the drugs that you pick up in the drugstore are produced by China. 90% of computer chips produced by China. 90% of our rare earth metals that we need to run our engines of industry are mined in China. They also own or control a significant percentage of the major corporations. When you think about Disney and the NBA and other groups like that will do anything that the Chinese tell them to do and will be silent about abuses that are obvious, people like LeBron who has nothing to say about the Uyghurs and so forth, you realize that the reason they're doing this, as one of the owners of the Golden State Warriors, who himself is a billionaire, readily admitted in an interview, nobody cares about the Uyghurs. Why? Because they're making millions. I mean, they're making billions of dollars in profits by their coalition and colluding with the Chinese. One senior U.S. diplomat said recently,
that's what people say, man, it ain't about China and Russia. These people got fucking handlers, man. These people got handlers. They not doing their own thing, man. It's all about the international bankers.
the greatest risk facing the U.S. in the 21st century is a two-front war involving its...
Because one of the quotes from these international bankers is give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws. So if you got control of a nation's money, you can steer whoever put up in power the way you want to steer them. And if they don't want to go how you want them to go, guess what? They'll get you whacked, man. They will get you whacked. Put to death, man. You know?
Strongest military rivals, China and Russia. Part of our reluctance, and I'm not anxious for it, but part of our reluctance from taking stronger measures against Russia and the Ukraine is the fact that we can't afford to fight on two fronts. Even though our military doctrine,
Because America's going to be stretched too thin. But shit, y'all boasting yourself like y'all still strong. You know? China beat America off sheer size, man. You got more people in China than in America. You know? America only less than half a billion. I mean, less than half. I mean, less than 500 million people in America, and China billions of people, man. Plus, you got Russia, India. Go join sides with these other heathens, man. Matter of fact, let's get that in Ezekiel. You know, assembly of great nations, man. This Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 1. It say, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against God and the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, talking about Russia, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine armies and and horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, and if you would have been paying attention in that video when it was talking about Iran nuclear facility, it had Persia on one of the buildings, man. Persia is Iran. Ethiopia, Ethiopian ham, and Libya with them. All of them with shields and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands going to Turkey, man. Turkey is a part of the Western NATO. Well, not NATO. Uh, I think they is a part of NATO. You know, they may be a part of NATO and the EU, but they are part of either NATO or the EU, or they part of just NATO or just the EU. I can't remember. And that Gomer and Togarmah was talking about Turkey, man, and all his bands and many people with them. Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy companies that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Yeah, so Russia gonna protect these heathens, man, that um gather themselves to them, you know. And hey man, this place finna go up, man. A lot of war. World War III gonna be, hey, it's gonna go down World War III, and America gonna be stretched too thin. You can't fight all these damn people. You can't protect what's the name of this place? You can't protect South Korea and Taiwan and Israel and Ukraine and whoever else you gonna try. You ain't gonna be able to do it, man. Going against Russia and China. Ain't no way, man. And Iran and Turkey. You gonna lose, man. America through.
first decades has been to be able to fight a two-front war, because we did during World War II. The idea has been we can't afford to that, and they just cut the military budget by several hundreds of millions of dollars this year. A former Prime Minister of Sweden, a guy named Carl Bildt, who's still a respected commentator on international affairs, said, "What has not yet been fully appreciated is the possibility of both happening simultaneous in a more or less coordinated fashion. First Ukraine, then Taiwan. These two acts of conquest would fundamentally shift the global balance of power, sounding the death knell for global peace for decades." This is what made China's response to the invasion so fascinating. Despite U.S.'s pleadings to do what they can to dissuade them, it's interesting, they actually leaked something to their news agencies by one of the senior editors of one of their main news distributors in China. And he said this, he said, "China needs to back up Russia while refraining from treading on the toes of the United States and the European Union, for in the future, China will need Russia's understanding and support when wrestling with America to solve the Taiwan issue once and for all." So what was China's response to the invasion of Ukraine? They sent a squadron of fighters into Taiwan airspace. That was their response. Because by the time we get to the book of Revelation, we find there are two sole powers left in the world. One is China, at least it calls the kings of the Orient.
Man, they do not say that in no damn Revelation. You know, what it's gonna be when this third world war happens is the destruction of all you fucking heathens. Starting with Esau, Edom, China, Ham, Japheth. Ain't gonna be no military power in the earth but Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You know, well, we gonna be off the earth, but you people are through, man. You know, the Lord gonna beam up his elect. Lord willing, we're part of that number. The elect of the nation of Israel gonna get beamed up, and everybody else that's left in America gonna get destroyed through thermonuclear missile. You know, and if you ain't in them bunkers, all these bunkers that they got around the world, your ass just about may be grass, man. You gonna need to be out. You ain't gonna be able to just be out, man, because you're gonna have nuclear fallout and all this different stuff. You're gonna need to be off the earth or in a bunker, man. Hid in the caves and in the rocks, you know, or your ass grass, man. You know, for the most part. Can people survive? Maybe. Some people may survive in these neutral areas, you know, but in a lot of these places where those nukes gonna drop, which is gonna be mainly America, Middle East. You know, some may hit Russia in certain places, China, but for the most part, they gonna wear America as out with the missiles, man. You know.
Asia, and the other is a confederacy of nations built around a reconfigured world empire that is called the Empire of the Beast and the Antichrist.
It say the U.S. dominance is over, replaced by a handful of global power. And he talking about the beast and the Antichrist. Let's go back, so.
It calls the kings of the Orient or Asia, and the other is a confederacy of nations built around a reconfigured world empire that is called the Empire of the Beast.
No, the Empire of the Beast is now, man. This system, these international bankers running America, running the earth. You know, this beast system is you fucking Edomites, man. The Lord already said back then that it was many antichrists. All antichrist mean is those those who are not followers of Yahweh. You know. So this guy don't know what he talking about, but it is what it is. Ain't gonna be no one antichrist that pop up ruling China and Russia. and all the nations that fight against him. No, man. There are many antichrists. This whole earth is an antichrist system. These people don't believe in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh, man, and they show it through their actions. The Christian that's in church every day, they don't believe in the Lord, man. They antichrist. You go to church every Sunday, but you still an antichrist. Anti-Hamashiach.
Antichrist. But we'll have to get into that. It's a lot of detail behind that.
And that's pretty much the point. Lord willing, this was the edifying lesson. I want to end it giving all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, rule web, and the great example to his younger brothers in the true peace and blessing to the hopeful. Shalom. Kwame Yashala and the Baba Shalom.